Hello, it's Retro Sheep review time again, and this time we're going to be taking a look at a game called Amaurote on the Amstrad CPC 464. This was it was published by Mastertronic in 1987, and it was developed by Binary Design, mainly the Pickford brothers, John and Steve. Incidentally, if anyone is interested in what the Pickford brothers are doing these days, then they have set up a website. It's called z3.com. If you put it into a search engine, something like Pickford Brothers Programmers, you'll find it no problem. And there's tons of information there. It's a great insight into their history. So we'll start off with a very quick look at some of the other equivalent versions that were released at the time. This is the Spectrum version. There were two versions for the Spectrum. This is the 48K version. And what do you have to do in this? Well, there's a city with 25 districts, and you have to clear each district of insects. So it's the usual sort of clicky sound effects on the Spectrum version. That's quite good for this game, really. It creates a good impression of insects scurrying all over the place. And these bombs we're going to be firing, they are bouncing bombs. We're still operating on the Barnes-Wallis principle here. And if you don't get your shots timed just right, you've got to wait for the bomb to bounce its way down the screen and explode before you can launch another one. So only one bomb on the screen at any one time. That holds true for this version and the Amstrad version that we're going to be looking at. Game over, Arachnus destroyed. So that's the 48K version. Now, they also had that 128K version, an identical loading screen, but there we go, some dark, intense and mysterious music from the one and only David Whittaker, who was also responsible for music on things like Feud, Treasure Island Dizzy, and a heck of a lot of the Codemasters simulators. And so, yep, here's your level select screen, same as the other version, but it comes with a few little bonuses once you've selected your level. We're going to be treated to some cutscenes. And there we are, Shifty Eyes. And yeah, you go sprinting into your Arachnus, and you're dropped off via the dropship, and then the level commences from there. So this is very, very good stuff. It says in the instructions, actually, we're provided with an Arachnus 4 armoured car with the latest radar equipment. It doesn't look much like a car, but it does the job, I suppose. And off we go. Music and sound effects at the same time in this version. The gameplay, though, is basically identical to the other version, but having the music and the sound effects at the same time is very good. And these cutscenes to finish, though. Big scream to finish. Right, let's take a quick look at the Commodore 64 version. This was a little bit disappointing, I thought, when I looked at this. There he is again, designed by John Pickford, graphics by Steve Pickford, and music by David Whittaker. Aside from the obvious differences in the sound chip, it's essentially the same as the Spectrum music, it's just in a different key, I think. And the way that we select the levels here is probably going to give you a little bit of an insight into what the gameplay is going to be like. Which is different, and oddly enough, a few of these place names are different as well. Instead of Gollum, Timperley, Parsonage, and Offerton, we've been given Gol, Dakos, Plato, and this one, Brookdale. So I don't know why a handful of the place names have changed, but or the districts, I should call them. But yeah, look at this, it's a bird's eye view game, which I don't know, I think it saps a lot of the unique character out of the game. The isometric view seems to lend itself very well to this, and I don't know, it just seems this could be almost any other game now. It has two advantages, of course. It's got this scrolling instead of the flick screen that we have on the Spectrum, and as we will see, the Amstrad. But another big bonus about this game is that it is a lot easier to register hits on the insects. The bouncing bombs, because it's sort of viewed from above, you have a lot better chance to actually hit the flipping things. But every other version of this game I've looked at has gone for the isometric viewpoint, and I think that's what makes this game what it is, so this bird's eye view is just a touch disappointing. And game over. Right, I think we've looked at these long enough. Let's move on to the Amstrad. So we'll have our customary look at what's in the box. What do you get in the box? There it is. There's your sleeve, Amaurote, and an AA Rave sticker. I thought that might have been just put on the case, and I've got the cases mixed up, but no, it's a sticker right onto the sleeve. So this must have had between about 80 and 90% in Amstrad action, because I think that's where the vast majority of those stickers went. There we go, there's the cassette tape. This took 5 minutes to load, so fairly quick. Or at least quick by 1987 standard. Yeah, so the artwork on the front there. Those people there and what they're wearing, it sort of looks like a cross between Ghostbusters and something like Space 1999, I suppose. But it looks typically 80s. And these screenshots as well look suspiciously Spectrum. As happened a lot in those days, you don't actually get the Amstrad screenshots on your Amstrad sleeve, so... But I think those are Spectrum screenshots. But what does it say? It says, all alone in a city infested with killer insects, not a particularly enviable position to be in, but you have been selected to sort out the 2,500 high-res screens of the capital city of paradise. So get on with it. In that case, we will. We're going out for a walk. We may be some time. And David Whittaker's music, once again. The music seems to start in a key of F sharp for Commodore and Amstrad versions, but key of E for the Spectrum. Okay then, so we'll get a game of this started. And so we've got 25 districts to clear in total. Each one of those is going to have a queen insect inside it, and then an assortment of drones and scouts that we've also got to destroy. Now, the instruction sleeve recommends taking out the queen insect first, because the queen insect gives lots of instructions to the drones who are hunting you down. But the trouble is, if you do take out the queen insect first, that sort of AI that's programmed into the drones, that's lost. And it becomes very difficult then with bouncing bombs to hit them. So I tend to leave the queen insects till last. And here we go, we're dropped into our first level troll straight on an insect. That's not very nice. That is a drone. And for as long as the queen insect is alive, if you get too close to them, they will start homing in on you. The drones, that is. But luckily we were able to do a quick turn there and destroy it. And these there's the bouncing bomb. Going to be very difficult to hit things with those. Now, the letters Z, X and C can be used to operate a compass, and you can just see there in the sort of bottom section of the screen in the centre there's a picture of a bug, and now a crown. By pressing the X key you can bring up the picture of the crown, and that tells you where the queen is. You can just see her there off to the right. And by pressing C that brings up a picture of a bomb, so that if you do radio for extra bombs, it'll tell you where to find them. So now by pressing Z again we can bring up the picture of the insect. That'll tell us where the nearest drone or scout is to us for us to try and destroy. Those arrows flash different colours as well. They sort of flash that bluey, yellowy, green colour as they are at the moment. That means they're pretty close to you, as it is there, just behind that structure. But the further away you are, say you're at the other end of the screen or something, those arrows will flash something like a deep blue or deep red or something like that. So it's not just a compass, it also gives you the proximity of the thing you're trying to find, which is very clever. So you would have seen from when we were dropped into the level that we incurred some damage from the drone that we were dropped onto. Got about 8% damage at the moment there now, you can just see that in the bottom right of the screen. If you get to 99% damage, then the game is over, you are destroyed. And so, yeah, what about the controls in this game then, aside from those compass keys I just talked about? Well, you've got the 4 directional keys. You can use... There are a number of keys assigned by default, actually, to each direction, but the ones I've been using are Q, A, I and J. And so those are taking me in the 4 directions respectively: northwest, southwest, northeast and southeast. And it's a spacebar to fire your bombs. If I am playing a little bit cagey in the first few levels, it's because I was still sort of getting used to the game mechanics and just what can hit you and things like that, because the scouts, I later discovered, can't actually do you any damage. These are the ones that sort of fly around, buzz around the level. In terms of taking damage, it's only these on the ground that you've got to worry about. And as you can see, the collision detection is a little bit awkward with these. It seems to vary slightly depending whether you're shooting up the screen or down the screen. If you're shooting down the screen, you've sort of got to hit the drones sort of between the nose and the central part of the insect. And if you're shooting up the screen, you've sort of got to hit them from the centre towards the rear. So it varies slightly. Sometimes it can look as though you're getting what should be a dead certain hit, only to see the bomb bounce past. A bit like that. And if it does that, you can see the number of bombs figure there, number 35, it's flashing at the moment. That tells us that the bomb is still in play somewhere. So we've got to wait for that to explode somewhere before we can fire another one. So you've got to wander around. Ah, there we go. It must have just exploded, and there we go, we've got that one. You probably heard a slight change in the music there. Just that tells us that the bomb that was in play somewhere, we've destroyed part of the city, so try and avoid doing that. And that sort of... it looks a bit like sort of corrugated sheeting, that stuff we just walked across. If you walk on that, you can only travel with the grain of it, so you're reduced to 2 directions for as long as you're on that. So that can inhibit you quite a bit if you're being pursued by one of these insects. And you don't want to get into a dead end. That sort of rocky texture next to the road there, you can't walk over that. And I realise I'm labouring a little over trying to get this scout. There it goes, right. I do learn a better technique for seeing them off in the later levels. But yeah, it's coming to grips with all the little nuances and the quirks of this game. I do get a bit faster and a bit better the further into this game that I get. And you've probably noticed the sort of technique I'm trying here. I'm trying to get close to these drones, just close enough so that then they latch onto me. Because this one here now, he is following me, so that's good, because while the queen insect is still alive, they will continue to do that, and their pattern of movement becomes predictable, because they just follow you. So, given how awkward the weaponry is, these bouncing bombs, that makes it a lot easier to hit them. If the queen insect is destroyed, and they lose that AI that's programmed into them, then they do wander all over the place, and with bouncing bombs it can take ages to try and clear a level. So here we go, it's just doing a funny sort of dance. Funny dance to attract the attention. There we go, we've got this one now, and we shoot. And again, what you think is a certain hit we miss, but yeah, so we'll wait for that bomb to explode somewhere before we can fire again. But yeah, so that's basically the technique that will be used across all 25 districts. It's try and get close enough to trigger the AI in the drones, and then just try line them up really, and hope that you time the bomb launch correctly. Okay, we've got a long stretch of road here to line this up. And shoot. Yes, just about, I think. Now, there could also be a feature here that's unique to the Amstrad version. Don't quote me on that, because I'm not 100% sure, but I have looked around at a lot of versions of this game, and it seems like those 2 rows of dots that are scrolling around at the top and bottom of the screen, they may be unique to this Amstrad version. I've not seen them in any of the others. And they're not just there for decoration either, because they're a sort of damage indicator. At the moment it says our damage is 8% in the bottom of the screen. I think for approximately every 10% of damage that you sustain, those dots will gradually change colour through the colour spectrum. And I think by the time you get to about 80-90%, they sort of turn blue and black, and also they slow down. So there's a little bit of nifty programming going on there. And there may also be a touch of screen split, because those 2 rows of dots look, well, it's 4 rows of dots technically, but a pair of pairs. Looks distinctly out of place with the rest of the display on screen. The game area looks as though it may be mode 1. And you've probably noticed as well on this Amstrad version, we get music only, no sound effects. Which is a bit of a shame, but if it was a choice between sound effects and David Whittaker's music, I think the music probably gives this game more atmosphere. Especially as the gameplay is generally quite slow and drawn out. I think, as you might have got an impression from the 48K Spectrum version, it could probably seem a little bit dull. If you just had the sound effects, you'd probably be having long periods of silence through this game, so that's not always a good thing, and I think it would make this game seem incredibly slow, so definitely a good choice to have the music. So let's take a look at the on-screen display at the bottom there, working from left to right. So in the bottom left you've got your dosh. You are given $5 million of dosh at the beginning of the game. Good old word that, dosh, instead of money. But you've got to be careful how you use that, because you will not get any more. That money has got to last you for the whole game. If you run out of dosh, you are out of the game. Next one along there in line is the district damage. That is the percentage of the current district that you have unwittingly destroyed. So this first district that we're trying to clear, this is called Trall. Anything we destroy here, that'll be entered as a percentage in the district damage indicator there. Next to that, number of bombs, we currently have 24 remaining. These are the conventional bombs, like we're firing here, that we are going to use to try and blow up the sort of conventional insects, if you like, the drones and the scouts. You can radio for more bombs, more on that later. So next to that on the right you've got the super bomb indicator. You can radio for those, you can buy them, but you can only hold one at a time. Queen insects can only be destroyed with super bombs, so you're going to need at least 25 through the course of the game, meaning that you've got to earmark at least $1,125,000 for those bombs alone, so just bear that in mind when you're spending your money. Next is the city damage. That is the percentage of the 25 districts as a whole that you've destroyed. So, for example, if I was to destroy all of this district, Trall, that's 1 district out of 25, that's 4% city damage. Assuming that all cities have an equal amount of material to destroy, that is. And finally there's the obvious one there, your damage. That's currently at 22%. And you'll notice that indeed the dots at the top and bottom of the screen, they have changed colour with the extra damage we've taken. And the one remaining important part of this game is your use of the right shift key. That will bring up your radio menu, and from that you will have 4 options, which will be crucial to helping you complete the game. The first of these options that you can select is the super bomb. Of course, the super bomb is needed to destroy the queen insect. Conventional bombs won't do any damage there, so you need a super bomb. They cost you $45,000 just for one of them. And when that bomb drop has taken place, it'll take place on a road. Luckily all bomb drops take place on a road, so they're a bit easier to locate. And you've got your compass to help you, of course. But once you've picked that up, the super bomb LED there on the on-screen display there, that will start flashing, and the next bomb that you fire will be the super bomb. So once you've picked it up, your conventional bombs cannot be used again. You'll have to first fire the super bomb before you can do that. So if you are going to order a super bomb, make sure that you're ready to destroy the queen insect. Make sure that you have located her. So that's the first option on your radio menu. The second option is conventional bombs. Now these will cost you $45,000 as well, but you will be able to get 30 of these at a time. There's 30 in each batch. You can hold a maximum of 99 though, so if you're holding 70 or more, you simply won't be allowed to order conventional bombs, the menu won't let you. So yes, 99 is your maximum. And those are the ones that you're going to be using generally, just to try and destroy these, like these scouts here flying around, and drones. The third option available to you is a rescue. This will cost $30,000, and this is quite useful if you're stuck in a corner and there's no way out. It looks like you might sustain a lot of heavy damage from the drones. If you can radio for a rescue. You will then be taken off the map and dropped at a random location elsewhere. So hopefully the random drop will be kind to you, but it's quite useful for getting out of a spot. It's a bit like a panic button, I suppose, in that respect. So let's take a quick look at the radio menu then. Might be time to just have a go and let's get a super bomb. There you go, message received, ETA 40 seconds. So, there we go, select C on the keyboard, that brings up the bomb picture, and it tells us that the bombs will be dropped to the northeast. So off we go. Bomb drops always take place, as I said, on a road. So they'll be up here somewhere, so now it's northwest. Notice the arrow's been changing colour a bit as I've wandered around here. And now it's southwest, so can't be a million miles away. Must be here somewhere. Oh, there they are. Just saw the parachute. Okay, we have our super bomb. The light starts flashing. Next bomb that we launch will be the super bomb. So that's the thing now. If we were getting surrounded by drones or scouts or whatever and we felt we had to shoot them, you can use the super bomb, but it's a waste of money. So there she is. Queen insect. Make sure we line this up right, we don't want to waste money. Hey, there we go. It's funny, isn't it? For this game, that bit of music's almost a bit too happy. So just to reiterate what I said earlier on, because it is quite important. Normally, if we were following the instructions in the instruction book to go for the queen first, that would stop further insect spawns. It would disable the AI that makes the insects quite aggressive and they go after you if you get close to them. But I think in this game you need that AI to be active in order to line them up to use your bombs. Because if they go wandering all over the place at random, by the time your bomb has bounced towards them or been launched towards them, they've gone off in a different direction. You'll miss them all the time, so we're sort of playing it the hard way, but I think it's probably the quickest way. And I think this might be the last insect, actually. Yep. There we go. The arrows have disappeared, so troll cleared. And there we go, 1 level down. 24 to go. So yeah, 44% damage. Those dots at the top and bottom of the screen, they've slowed down and they are now green. So there we go. We've just got to do that another 24 times now. We've cleared troll, so we'll now do Kenaloon. And ominously, it welcomes us, as they all do. And a different colour scheme, so your eyes do get a bit of a rest between levels. Now you will have noticed that there was a fourth option on the radio menu. We didn't quite get around to that because the level came to an end just now, but we'll pick up where we left off. Yeah, the fourth option is a repair that you can choose. That's self-explanatory. That reduces your damage to 0%. You get a reset, basically. But it took a while to work out just how the cost of that works, and I think I've just about worked it out. Basically, it comprises a fixed element and a variable element. The fixed element is $64,000, ouch, because this repair is the most expensive option on the menu. And also then, in addition to that $64,000, you'll be paying an extra $6,400 per percentage of damage incurred. So if you had 1% damage, for example, you would be paying $64,000 as a flat rate, and then an additional $6,400 for that 1%, so that'd be $70,400. And this is where things were getting a little bit confusing. That only holds true for damage sustained between 1 and 79% inclusively. For everything above that, 80% and above, your damage is assessed as though it was 99%, and so you'll be charged $64,000, if you're still following me. The $64,000 fixed element, and then the variable element will be 99 multiplied by 6,400. So damage sustained between from 80% upwards, that's always going to cost the same amount of money. It's going to be 697,600, but below 80%, it's 64,000 and the 6,400 per percentage of damage sustained. That's very confusing. What it does mean is that the optimum percentage to choose a repair is 79%, because that way you don't get shoved into the sort of high band, the 80% plus band, and you're distributing the fixed element of 64,000 as widely as possible amongst the percentages of damage sustained. In the best case scenario, that will be 79%. I'll just say now as well, I think I'm going to upload this review in several parts, because it's a very lengthy game to play, so I don't know, it'll be taking days to upload otherwise if I do it as one file, so it'll be broken down into about half a dozen parts or something like that. Right, I think that is everything. I think it's time for me to shut up again. It'll be a long review, but I'll be back with the usual retro sheep review score at the end, and the usual 1 or 2 comments, and maybe 1 or 2 little extras as well, so enjoy.
you